What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 15-game MLB main slate, courtesy of Awesemo.com. Yesterday, we sent a Four Corners viewership record, so thank you guys for watching. And we also had a lot of correct double dong picks, so winning is in the air for all of us. So what I'm going to need you guys to do right now is like this video and comment your double dong pick down below if you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus. It's all you have to do right now. Like the video and comment your double dong pick, and I'll announce the winner of yesterday's video a little bit later on. But now let's get on to the top pitchers on today's slate, and Chris Sale going against Tampa Bay should be the top option industry-wide. Sale gets 3.4 implied runs against him, which are slate low, and is expected to be the number one owned pitcher on FanDuel with 30%, while he'll be number two on DraftKings with 35%, and on Yahoo with 29%. Sale's 35% K rate is amongst the best on the slate, so while his 3.5% home run rate is less than ideal, as is Tampa Bay's projected lineup's 21.6% K rate, Sale's price and upside seem worth the top exposure he's expected to have. Sale's a lot like Garrett Cole yesterday, where it's not a perfect matchup, but his talent is so strong, especially compared to the rest of the slate, where I do think it's worth matching the field on Sale's ownership. Chris Archer versus St. Louis will also find some ownership today with 4.2 implied runs against him. Archer will be the number one owned pitcher on DraftKings with 35%, but he'll be lesser owned on FanDuel and Yahoo. Archer's 26.7% K rate at his low price is appealing, but his 4.6 xFIP, 43% hard contact, and 5.5% home run rate allowed can be a problem, despite St. Louis bringing a mediocre 153 ISO, 23% K rate, and an 88 WRC plus versus right-hand pitching in 2019. St. Louis does stink, and they offered Trevor Williams a decent day yesterday, and Archer does have better strikeout stuff, but Archer's chalk is a bit of a concern given the power he gives up, so I'd be less inclined to match the field on him, and probably be willing to mix in a little bit of St. Louis stack exposure. And Madison Bumgarner versus the Cubs should also find some ownership today with 3.8 implied runs against him. Bumgarner will be the number one owned on Yahoo with 34%, while he'll be number three on DraftKings with 20%. Bumgarner's 47% hard contact allowed is a concern despite the pitching-friendly park, with the Cubs' projected lineup bringing a 210 ISO and a 111 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching. I'm generally not a big Bumgarner guy because the strikeout upside isn't there for him in a big way. I'm probably more inclined to find some other guys at a similar price range today with his ownership being that high. On to our next corner, the top stacks on the slate, and an Atlanta stack going against Danny Duffy should be one of those teams. Atlanta gets 5.8 implied runs, which are a slate high, and despite the high team total and a 221 ISO versus left-hand pitching in Atlanta's lineup, they project for just modest ownership so far. The 5.2 xFIP and 1.4 whip that Duffy allows could mean solid results for an Atlanta stack whose ownership is likely to rise throughout the day with mostly reasonable pricing industry-wide. Atlanta's slate high team total should drive their ownership up throughout the day, but for right now, they do look a bit underowned, and there's one guy in particular who jumps out to me I'll talk about later on in the video. A White Sox stack versus Caleb Smith also should be owned today with 4.8 implied runs for them. The high ownership for cheap players like Wellington Castillo and Jose Rondon is expected to drive up the full stack ownership to pretty much untenable rates. Smith's 31% K rate is one of the better marks in the league, while the White Sox's projected lineup brings a 26.5% K rate, and that makes Smith interesting as a leverage pitcher despite a mediocre 4.1 xFIP and 4.8% home run rate allowed. I'll talk more about Smith shortly, but with Chicago's ownership where it is, this seems like a spot similar to Ivan Nova yesterday, where if you have a crappy team getting highly owned, it's worth having the pitcher as leverage against them. And similarly, a Philly stack versus Matthew Boyd should also be pretty highly owned today, despite just 4.3 implied runs for them. Philly projects for high ownership as a value stack, despite Boyd's elite 32.2% K rate and 1.1 whip. Boyd struggles with power with a 4.2% home run rate and 40% hard contact allowed, but Philly's projected lineup isn't the most fear-inducing and looks overowned despite the value pricing. Boyd's price and the matchup makes it a bit less likely I'll get to him than I will Caleb Smith, but I do think it's a similar thing there where I really don't see it for Philly today, but they have a ton of ownership expected for them. Now on to our next corner, the lower owned options on today's slate, and a Washington stack going against Peter Lambert's one of those teams. Washington gets 5.5 implied runs for them, and their ownership is down significantly after their postponed game yesterday, despite the 14.7% K rate and 293 batting average that Lambert has allowed this year. The prices are down for Washington despite a solid match for both sides of the plate, and just a 19.2% K rate in Washington's lineup versus right-hand pitching. I liked Washington quite a bit yesterday, and with the same matchup but lower prices, I'm willing to go back there today because people aren't going to be going there as much due to the size of today's slate compared to yesterday's. And as I mentioned, Caleb Smith versus the White Sox is a guy who interests me despite the 4.8 implied runs against him. If the current White Sox ownership holds up, Smith could be a top leverage play with 7 hitters above league average and strikeout rate in the White Sox lineup. The hitting-friendly park in Chicago is less ideal, but if Smith misses some bats with his 14.5% swing strike rate, the worrisome 49% fly ball rate that he gives up is much less of a concern. It seems like there's a decent chance that Smith gives up some production here, but I think the strikeout upside is high enough for him where even if he gives up a run or two, he could have a lot of strikeouts here, which will add up fast in terms of fantasy points. And a Houston stack interests me again versus Mike Fiers with 5.4 implied runs for them. Fiers' 1.1 whip and 226 batting average allowed in 2019 are strong, but his 5.4 xFIP shows that he may be due for worse to come. Houston's projected lineup brings a 127 WRC plus, a 284 batting average, and a 197 ISO versus right-hand pitching, which could stick it to Fiers at lower ownership due to the slate size and their higher prices in today's lineup. Houston got there for us yesterday versus Homer Bailey, and even though Fiers does limit production well, I think he's due for some negative regression. I like the spot here for Houston without much ownership expected for them. And Merrill Kelly versus Baltimore looks like an interesting cheap option with 3.8 implied runs against him. Kelly is mediocre, teetering on bad with a 4.7 xFIP and a 19% K rate. But Baltimore's projected lineups of 139 ISO and 78 WRC plus are good in a pitching park. Kelly mostly stinks, but his mediocrity or Dylan Bundy's strikeout ability on the other side seem like appealing value options on a slate currently lacking in them at pitcher. I won't be bouncing my grandkids on my knee telling them about the day that I rostered Merrill Kelly, but I do think it's a decent spot for him at low ownership as a value play. Same thing for Dylan Bundy as well. And now on to our last corner of the one-offs, and Christian Yelich versus Tanner Roark is one that I like quite a bit. Roark's 5 xFIP and 284 batting average allowed to left-handed bats is a nice spot for Yelich at home with his 328 ISO and 183 WRC plus versus right-hand pitching. Christian Yelich is an option as a one-off pretty much every day, but I do think this is one of those days where his ceiling does jump out to me in a really nice spot versus Roark at home. Austin Riley versus Danny Duffy also intrigues me. Riley has smashed left-handed pitching in 50 at-bats so far with a 524 ISO and a 206 WRC plus, as well as 59% hard contact generated, while Duffy struggled versus right-handed batters with a 5 xFIP and just a 19.4% K rate. Riley's down the order a bit, but his price is down as well, so I think it's a really nice spot to go to Duffy at what shouldn't be a lot of ownership for Austin Riley. And yesterday's postponed cover boy Juan Soto versus Peter Lambert also is a one-off I like again today. Soto's prices come down, but he has a 146 WRC plus and a 226 ISO versus right-hand pitching, while Lambert's 6.3 xFIP and 309 batting average allowed to left-handed bats offers a lot of opportunity. I liked Soto yesterday, so I have to like him again at cheaper prices in the same matchup here, and it should be a nice spot with less ownership than it was going to be yesterday. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on today's slate, and right now with all this information and all these games in front of you, make sure to like this video and comment your double dong pick down below for your chance to win that free month of Osmo Plus. Yesterday we had Mitch Garver and Eugenio Suarez both hitting double dongs, and in addition to record viewership, we also had a record amount of correct double dong picks in the comments, which you can see right here. All these people guessed one of those two correctly, so good job by all you folks. You are kings among double dong men, but unfortunately only one of you can win that free month of Osmo Plus, and I ran the random Excel generator to determine who it is. The winner is Jacob Treadway, so congrats to Jacob. Email me at chris@osmo.com to collect your prize of that free month of Osmo Plus. If you want to win your free month of Osmo Plus, make sure to like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. And also, if you're correct, feel free to not email me demanding a prize, because that is not how we give it away here. I announce the winners every day on the Four Corners video, and there are usually a lot of people who are correct, so make sure to tune in tomorrow to see if you won. But just because you didn't get that free month of Osmo Plus today doesn't mean you can't leave today with one. You can use that promo code SWITCH and HEDGE for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Get all the ownership projections, the regular projections, the plug right into the Fantasy Cruncher, the deep dive column, the lineup builder tool, the top stacks tool, a million different things that'll help you make better MLB DFS lineups every single day. So use that promo code SWITCH and HEDGE right now for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'm here for you guys every day. I'm there if you have any questions as well. And of course, go check out my podcast because I'm spending so much time with you guys every single day. Get to know me outside of the venue of short form DFS videos. But either way, go follow me right now on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'll be back tomorrow with another Four Corners video. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you genuinely and truly for helping me set viewership records on this little video of ours. I really do appreciate it. Of course, I'll see you guys again soon. So good luck.